Hello everyone, it's Dylan from Yu-Gi-Oh! Everything, and welcome back to another Yu-Gi-Oh! Retrospective, What on Earth Happened To? A series where I look at a character among the various Yu-Gi-Oh! Animes who completely fell out of relevance as the storyline went on. I have patrons of mine vote on this series, so thank you to everyone who voted in the last poll, and the winner of that poll was another Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds gal, Carly Carmine. Carly was actually a really pivotal character throughout the Dark Signers arc of the show. What she did for the main rival Jack Atlas is maybe the greatest impact any girl character has had on a rival character in Yu-Gi-Oh! And maybe even a character in general. We got a lot of great backstory when it came to her character, and she was definitely one of the more well-developed Dark Signers, even going toe-to-toe with Kiryu for that honor. She ended up dueling 4 times in a 30-episode span during the Dark Signers arc, which is actually a really healthy amount. One of the most incredible moments of her character arc was when she confessed her love to Jack while dying in his arms. She faded into dust, and Jack would go on to actually recite his own love for her during his duel against Godwin. So let's call this what it is. It's one of the only definitive canon moments in Yu-Gi-Oh! Where 2 characters admitted their love for one another. That's a pretty big deal. That at the very least is something that you would expect to carry over into the second half of the show, and probably solidify Carly as a relevant character throughout the remainder of the series. Well, that's obviously not what happened. After the Dark Signers' defeat, Carly's entire memory of the events are erased, even though fellow Dark Signer member Kiryu was able to keep his memory, so that's an aspect that never really got fully explained. But that's okay. Even though Carly lost her memory, Jack still remembers the fact that the woman he loved and cared about so much feels the same way about him. I am sure that this will be touched on down the road. Well, it wasn't. The dynamic between these two took a major step back and reverted to what it was when Carly was first introduced to us, an obsessive fangirl being shrugged off by the man she was obsessed over. All the progress these 2 characters made together, all the development, was written out of the show. Carly had no post-Dark Signer duels and barely had any screen time during the final 84 episodes of the show. For a character who was so prominent for the growth of the main rival and for the growth of herself in the Dark Signers arc, I ask you, what on earth happened to Carly? It's time to get into some possible reasons as to why she took a major step back in seasons 3 through 5. I hope you all enjoy. There are 2 major reasons, or major possible reasons I should say, that I'm going to go over in regards to Carly's near character assassination. One has to do with a writing shift, and another has to do with her Japanese voice actors, let's just say, interesting endeavors outside of the workplace. What many people do not realize is that the series composer of Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds changed after the Dark Signers arc. For the first 64 episodes, the man in charge of series composition was Atsuhiro Tomioka. The man who relieved Tomioka was none other than my friend, Shin Yoshida. Shin Yoshida has had his footprint in almost every single Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime. He wrote Season 4 of Duel Monsters, Season 4 of GX, the second half of 5Ds, all of Zexal, and all of Reigns. He has also written the Zexal and Arc 5 manga. I'm not sure anyone has put in as many hours into Yu-Gi-Oh! Production than he has, and while I think there is a lot that Shin Yoshida does really well, something he has always struggled with is the writing of female characters. In fact, this is something he himself has gone on record admitting. In Behind the Scenes of Zexal 2, found in Volume 7 of the manga, Yoshida talks about how he originally wanted the girl duelist Luna to be a guy. He goes on to say, "It's true that, left to my own devices, my stories have few female characters." Oops. Classic Yoshida. So a strong possibility as to the reason why Carly's character was demoted to a sideline cheerleader during the second half of the show is just the change in writers. Shin Yoshida takes over at episode 65 and just doesn't know how to, or doesn't want to, further elaborate on the Carly and Jack canon romance, which was such a big part of the previous arc. A misstep on the part of Yoshida? I personally think so. It was a real shame that we never saw the relationship between these 2 get touched on ever again, but what was more shameful was a strong written character like Carly be treated like she was a character that had no sort of relevance throughout the show. But when it comes to Carly, maybe Yoshida is not the only one to blame, or even the one to blame at all. I'm sure many of you have heard about this by now, but the choices outside of the recording booth that Carly's Japanese voice actor made may have affected her screen time. Lee Mei-Xiang voiced Carly through the first 130 episodes of the show, before being replaced by Aki Kanata. Chiang was assumingly relieved from her duties of voicing Carly because of the Roma Sophie cult scandal. So here is one of the only articles that exists regarding the society. To find it, I actually had to backtrack to a previous video I did and find the link in the description because I could not find this anywhere in the Google search for the life of me. Photographed are the two leaders of the cult, the husband and wife. It's clearly a photoshopped black eye and a bloody lip on the wife, but it symbolizes what this cult is all about. Essentially, this is a BDSM cult, if you want to call it that. It basically just focuses on the aspect of men dominating and beating up women. The article goes on to state how this cult was found out, which is actually pretty insane. One of the women in the cult got beat up so bad that she actually had to seek medical attention. You can assume what happened from that point on. All of this really started to unfold in 2010, which is kind of important in relation to where 5Ds was, because the beginning of 2010 was slightly into Season 3, after the Dark Signers arc. It's important to keep in mind that there is no concrete proof Carly would have had a more prominent role in the second half of 5Ds had this whole cult scandal not been uncovered. I believe that this definitely could have been a factor as to why her role was so diminished. I mean, it did warrant them to get rid of the voice actress, and I'm sure there were rumblings behind the scenes that Chiang may have been involved in some questionable activities before it was unveiled to the public. Any place I've worked at, you usually get pretty close to your coworkers, and there are almost always things you know about them that they would never want revealed publicly or revealed to their bosses, so it would not shock me at all if some fellow VAs were aware of her being involved in this group and maybe even mentioned it as a heads up to some higher ups. Granted, that is all speculation, and I do have to reiterate that there is no concrete proof that Carly's VAs Association had any correlation with her character being written out of the show. Personally, I think the Shin Yoshida replacement at episode 65 was probably the main reason for her being written out of the show, but I have always thought the scandal theory definitely holds some weight to it. It is a shame. I liked Carly a lot, loved her Dark Signer persona, and to think her character went completely stale for the last 84 episodes was and still is a massive letdown. And that about wraps it up. Thank you all so much for watching another Yu-Gi-Oh! Retrospective What on Earth Happened To. I believe this is the third one we have done. I know I've done Jim Crocodile Cook and Aki, who was also in 5Ds, maybe another victim of Shin Yoshida becoming the main writer in episode 65. But I promise I will be doing more videos in this series. Melinda Phantom, an Egyptian god tier patron of mine, just requested for the month of October What on Earth Happened to Bastion Misawa. That one is going to be a lot of fun, so definitely be on the lookout for that in the next couple of weeks. And yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed. Please leave all your thoughts on whether you liked Carly as a character down below, and let me know if you were just as disappointed as I was that she was really never utilized in any way, shape, or form after the Dark Signers arc. A special thank you to my Platinum tier patrons Alexa Baker, Glen McGookin, Jorge Carrillo, James Rose, Horace Maye, Goosey Q, Vincent Van Der Veen, Jordan Osceola, Smith620, Frost Reaper, Jorge Leone, and Blue Maiden 28, and to my Diamond tier patron Jesse Wood, and to my Egyptian God tier patrons Joss Rivers, Melinda Phantom, and Sin Cloud. Huge thank you to everyone who supports me on Patreon, to everyone who is a channel member. I cannot tell you how much it truly does help myself and the channel grow. And a huge thank you to everyone at home for just watching my videos, because without you guys, I would not be able to do this. I will talk to you all down below. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you have an amazing day.